Whether you're into podcasts about ghastly crimes or hip-hop rhymes, there's always something new to discover on Spotify with a mix of originals and many of the world's most popular shows. Listening to podcasts on Spotify is easy. Just open the app, tap Browse, dive into the growing library, subscribe to your favorites, including our entire archive, so you never miss a show. You can also download podcasts for those moments when you're going up in the air or you're going underground. Podcasts on Spotify are streaming right now. Go check them out.
Hi, this is Eric Dickerson, NFL Hall of Famer, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Redraft Studios, with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Good morning! Welcome to the show. It is Wednesday, December 27th, and we're back once more with another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Jason Moore, Mike, the Fantasy Hitman Wright, and myself, Andy Holloway, back again. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm a champion of the Listener League, so I'm doing great. How are you doing, Mike?
I was a loser in the championship round. Also, this morning I had to pull the old Trickarooski where the recycling man had driven by.
Okay.
Of course, this is post-Christmas. So
you put it on the other side of the street.
So this thing is overflowing. I went to the other side of the street successfully.
Pro move.
So the recycling bin is empty.
Cannot miss the recycle bin after Christmas.
Christmas week.
It almost happened.
Now, Jason, you're a champ, but it's taking a toll. I see some gray hair in that beard of yours.
Oh, yeah. A lot of gray hair.
A lot of wrinkles.
How many of those came while you were watching Michael Crabtree goose
I'll tell you
give
what,
you a title?
Michael Crabtree needed to do something to keep me away from the title, and he didn't. Thank you, Mike. But I'll tell when I was watching that game, I was so nervous I didn't want to move. I'm frozen. My wife's talking to me like, "What's wrong? Are you angry?" I'm like, "No, don't talk to me." I was like the tin man, needing an oil can. I couldn't even talk, but I was still nervous. And this makes no sense. This is how dumb it is. I was genuinely nervous watching the plays when the Raiders had the ball while Michael Crabtree was not on the field.
Oh, it makes sense.
He's not there, and I'm still like, what's going to happen?
Did he change numbers?
Like, how is he going to score?
Is he in as a tight end right now?
Yes, and maybe he just pops in for a red zone catch or something like that.
I mean, the actual play. Like, they snap the ball, and I'm like, maybe I just didn't see him.
Does it count if he, overthrows it and on the sideline he catches it? Well, you survived. A few gray hairs, but you made it.
Sure did.
You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. The community's jointhefoot.com. I want to say thanks to everybody for all the kind words coming through on Twitter, Facebook, social media, email, everywhere. Our goal here at the podcast is to make your season more enjoyable. And we take a holistic approach to that. We say, look, winning is a piece of the puzzle. We want you to win, but you need to take credit for winning.
I compared it to this on the Periscope a couple weeks ago. You are the captain of the ship. We're simply the first mate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we're here to give you our observations, our opinions, but you're the captain. So you won.
You turn that wheel.
Yeah.
Sometimes you listen to Jason and,
You win the championship.
Sometimes you listen to Mike and
win your championship.
Icebergs ahead.
Sometimes you listen to Andy. You win your championship.
Yeah. Look, either way, to you. No, really, congratulations to you guys. Our goal is to make it fun, is to make it enjoyable. We appreciate all the thanks. I'm glad that we could be some part in you having a more enjoyable fantasy football season. But look, you want to say thanks, you want to show thanks to us, just keep listening to the show. Just keep tuning in. We do this as a it's something that brings us joy to go out there and make your league more fun, to make your season more enjoyable. And if you won this year, congrats.
It was
a perfect capper to the year, but you probably had fun along the way, whether you won or lost.
Absolutely. And if you didn't win, just know that there are other listeners in your league.
And there are I've had a few questions. What can I expect for the off-season content? Number one, we launch into the truth, which is we take a look back at these players, and yeah, sure, you finished as a wide receiver 1, but were you actually a helpful fantasy asset along the way, or were you just fool's gold and you blew up twice? and then you just were killing people because they kept starting you. We look at every position. We're going to look at the rookies, see how they panned out compared to coming into the season. How did we feel? Then it's free agency time, and then it's draft
Combine
time.
and
Look,
draft.
I mean, the party never ever stops with fantasy football.
No,
Although once again, you skipped. You buried the lead here.
Oh my goodness!
The footy.
The footies are coming next week. The footies.
Because I have accepted the fact that Todd Gurley wins everything.
He's not going to win the nickname footy.
No,
Oh, that's right.
which is the most important
That's,
footy.
that's very true. Man, there's gonna be like 30
There
names
are a
on that
lot of
list.
We're going to have a new nickname shirt on the website, too.
Oh, very nice.
Season 3 of the nickname shirt will be a lot of fun. There's also the Foot Clan title shirt if you want to brag about town. That's what I call it. Just brag about town.
This town is great.
Yeah, not a very
Give
sophisticated
him the-
understanding.
give
I
him
mean, that's for him. You knew what I was saying.
Yes,
I know.
Yeah, like a man about town.
Right. I got you. But if you're going to brag about a town.
I was imagining the scene of John Travolta at the end of Staying Alive when he's just, or Saturday Night Fever. I apologize, when he's just strutting, but he's got the Foot Clan title shirt on. He's pointing at people. Hey,
Yeah,
champs.
you can get those at
champ on
shopballers.com.
the champ.
All right, we're going to pump the brakes
Oh,
for Week 17, guys. Mike, who's your pump the brakes?
all right. I'm pumping the aforementioned when I was talking about the truth about fantasy players. Yeah, this player,
guy's nickname's The Lie.
Amari Cooper. If you were thank you. If you were courageous enough to say, "Hey, he's back. I'm going to play him in championship week." First off, take a look in the mirror and make sure you're making correct choices with your life. It did pay off. 3 for 66 with the touchdown, but he was only in for 63% of the snaps. He was still healing. And here's the deal. Amari Cooper, week 1, he had 4 10-zone targets, which he many of those were dropped. And then since then, he's had 3. He is not – if you get the bomb touchdown, you're going to be happy. If you don't, you're going to be very displeased with him. It's also Casey Hayward time because they're taking on the Los Angeles Chargers, who have been absolutely brutal against fantasy wide receivers. So I'm just – for those who are like, oh, Amari, he's back. Hey, I'm pumping the brakes.
Hey, the Chargers are fighting for their playoff lives.
Yes.
To boot.
Yeah, those things matter in Week 17 is who's playing for what. I'm going to pump the brakes on the running back 9 on the season.
Okay.
Jordan Howard, who, if you had Jordan Howard last week, you were very thrilled with, had the multi-touchdown game. But if you look at how he's been running lately over the last 5 weeks, it's been very, very poor. He had a real good game against Cincinnati within that stretch. Outside of that, the other games, here's his yardage in all of those games. 6 yards, complete game, 38 yards, 37 yards, 44 yards. So, yes, if Jordan Howard gets you 2 touchdowns, you'll be happy. But he plays Minnesota this week, in Minnesota, who's playing for a bye week so that they can rest their guys and make sure they're healthy for a Super Bowl run. I don't like how Jordan Howard has been running. Again, if you take out that Cincinnati game, you've got 4-game sample size where he's running for 2.4 yards a carry, and now he's playing against the #1 rush defense over that same time period. So Jordan Howard, to me, if you need to throw him in, you can hope for those touchdowns because if they get on the goal line, it will be Jordan Howard's opportunity. But I would prefer to go with a guy that I can trust a little bit more this week.
Jordan Howard's also a guy I'm excited to break down when we're talking about the truth about running backs because, like you said, running back 9 in half-point PPR with a line of 267 attempts, over 1,100 yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, even has 22 receptions for 120 yards.
That sounds great.
And it still feels like Jordan Howard has not helped your team.
Because if you look at how boom-bust he's been, he's had games where it's 36 carries for 167 yards, and then he's had games where it's 9 carries for 7 yards.
It's just quite the season for Mr. Howard.
When you put him in the lineup, you kind of close your eyes, plug your ears, and just hope when you open him again he's got a couple of touchdowns. And if he doesn't, you're disappointed.
But that was the thing about Howard coming into the season was last year he was a monster, right? But it was yardage. He was almost guaranteed 100 yards from scrimmage, but the touchdowns were not there for Jordan Howard. All of a sudden now the touchdowns are here.
You need to watch Howard this offseason because if they rework the coaching staff and the offensive coordinator, Jordan Howard's good enough. I'm not saying he's going to be next year's Todd Gurley. I'm saying that a change in the offensive scheme could pay big dividends for Jordan Howard's season.
Yes.
Because John Fox and company probably not getting it done the right way. You could see Mitch Trubisky have a step forward, some better weapons. You need offensive consistency for Howard to give you the week-to-week performance. All right, I'm going to cheat a little bit.
No, I love it.
Now, if you're in a Week 17 title game,
congratulations.
We're here for you.
Absolutely.
We've got the tips and tricks, and we're going to lay out the teams that are going to be playing starters and not playing their starters because that's what we do. We're here for you. We want you to win that title. But I'm pumping the brakes on all the Week 17 leagues and, by extension, the Week 17 commissioners. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. There's the camera. I looked at the wrong camera.
Brooks.
Talking to you, Brooks.
Okay.
But look, if you're running a league right now, right here, look, you can't change it. You're in a Week 17 title game. That's the way you're finishing. But please, look in the mirror and make a change. It's time to go into 2018 with a 16-week league. We just said we're all about making your league more enjoyable. You know what's not enjoyable? Having to wonder if the Rams or Eagles or Patriots or Vikings or any of these teams are going to play their starters. Are they going to play them for a quarter? Are they going to play them for 3 quarters? Are they going to play them like some of their starters but not the other ones? Look, this is not the way you want a year to finish. There's enough unpredictability in fantasy football that we don't need to build more in by playing championship weeks in Week 17.
Oh, yes.
But Andy.
Yes, Vopo.
Yes.
But I knew at the draft that it was Week 17, so I can draft, knowing that and being more strategic. Don't take a week of football away from me.
Look, Vopo, I understand that you want to extend the fun as long as you can, but the key word there is fun. And you want to extend fun. And you can't extend fun to Week 17 when you've got to bench Todd Gurley or Alshon Jeffrey or somebody like that and take a guess.
Yeah, because you knew at the draft that Todd Gurley would be the one getting benched in Week 17 because those Rams would have locked everything up.
Yeah, you had that figured out.
This week of advice and everything, I feel like I'm with my friend. We're walking into the tattoo shop, and my friend goes, you know what I'm doing? I'm like, oh, no, what are you getting? I'm getting that sweet tribal barbed wire around my bicep. I'm like, you're my friend.
Support you?
I'm going to support you. But my advice is don't do it.
Sure.
I think there may be some regrets. And he says, no regrets. and now he is with a tribal tattoo around his bicep.
That's what Week 17 league is? Okay.
Don't do it. And if you want to make the argument, you know the strategy and I want more, more time, then I say this to all of those Week 17 commissioners: go through the playoffs, go all the way to the Super Bowl. Why are you taking away football from your league? I mean,
you should be able to have strategy at the beginning of the year. Who's going to get to the Super Bowl?
Exactly. I mean, you got to
you picked
the
the
Patriots.
Saints.
We told you the Saints.
Yeah.
Are you in any Week 17 leagues, Brooks? Because you're in some leagues that we're not in.
I am not.
You're not. Okay.
I wouldn't be in those leagues.
I was going to say you wouldn't stand for that.
No.
It's a man of principle.
So how does someone that is in a league but not the commissioner accomplish the goal of fixing their league?
Here's the truth. I mean, we've seen rules in our league. Sometimes it takes years of constantly, year after year, just saying when it's that time to talk about this, hey, I voted this. Here's why. Make the argument. And then they say no. I did this for years in our league about kickers, nerfing kickers or getting rid of kickers. Finally, this last year, we nerfed the amount of bonus points that kickers are getting, and it took strategy. It took me, pointing out that look at the top kickers were
Jason had
outscoring
lobbyists and everything.
that were outscoring the top tight ends last year. It's like this is not how we draft. And, so bring up the players. Watch what happens this week that hurts people, and then
point that out
next year.
Yeah. Yeah, and whoever really lost because of it, get them on your side.
Oh, they will be.
All right, let's get into the news.
News news and notes from around the league.
Quick update on DeMarco Murray. He has a third-degree MCL sprain. I've also seen reports that he has a tear that he's going to play through. A sprain is a tear technically, right?
I'm not
Medical doctor.
Not a doctor. Yes, that's correct.
It's a low, yeah.
Yeah, it is a tear.
I remember that a sprain. One of them's a tear. Like
one's
sprain
a strain,
or strain.
though, huh?
Yeah, because you can strain.
Not a doctor.
I don't know. Whatever.
They couldn't tell after this conversation. Evan Ingram, bruised ribs. X-rays negative. We'll report on him later in the week if he's going to play. The Broncos are going to start Paxton Lynch.
Well, that's the plan.
That's the plan, dealing with the ankle injury. We'll see. Jay Cutler's going to start Sunday. Melvin Gordon thinks he'll be able to play Sunday. That's good news for Melvin Gordon owners and for Charger fans.
Maybe good news for Melvin Gordon owners. I'm saying if he's playing on a bum ankle, that's my only point.
Look, that's the best case scenario for Week 17.
Melvin Gordon on a bum ankle is far better than losing Melvin Gordon and having to roll out some Elijah Penny type player.
Maybe. No, we've seen it earlier in the season. He toughed it out and then he left the game. That's my only point is if he's going to play on a bum ankle, you're taking the risk that this guy could be knocked out in the first quarter.
So basically what you're saying is you would rather have, genuinely, you'd rather have Brandon Oliver with Melvin Gordon out of the way. Like he doesn't play. And
if I knew I was getting 4 quarters of – well, you don't know that because Brandon Oliver can get hurt, of course.
Sure.
But if it's Brandon Oliver guaranteed for the 4 quarters or the risk that Melvin Gordon, who has already done this and has a vast history of injuries, I'm just saying that
I
get
it. It's tough. This past week, for example, both P. Ryan and Kerwin Williams were pretty much questionable to out all week. Last minute, they both started, and they both played a ton of reps. So if you had started Elijah Penny this last week, Kerwin got all the reps. If you had started Capri Bibbs, now he, of course, P. Ryan went out with a different injury.
Yes, that's
in the
my
game,
point.
But not the same injury. And so you're playing with fire. I start your stud in that situation.
Yes,
I'll
I'm
probably
playing
shoot
him.
that
But
ankle off.
if you have Gordon, make sure you pick up Brandon Oliver.
There you go.
Yes.
All right, we're going to break down for those Week 17 owners and for those of you following the NFL, some of the playoff scenarios, some of the teams that we're not expecting to see big players from. Now, that doesn't mean there's not value on those teams potentially. And so we'll talk about that as well. But let's start with these playoff teams that have, quote, nothing to play for, right? They have the seed locked up. The Eagles have the #1 seed in the NFC locked up. Now, Doug Peterson's come out and he said that he wants to get Nick Foles as many reps as possible, but he added that the team will be smart about playing time. So, what do you expect to see from the Eagles offense this week?
I expect to see Foles, but I would offer this question to Coach Peterson. It says, Nick Foles looked a lot better when he was coming off of no reps. Because 2 weeks ago, he was sensational. He had a full game under his belt, and then he stunk.
Let me ask you this. Is Corey Clement a potential play this week for Week 17 championship owners? He gets on the field with the rotation, but if they're going to sit the higher, depth chart players like Ajayi and Blunt, would Corey Clement be somebody that could get extra reps?
Maybe. I don't think they have to worry about that because they rotate so much. Everyone, they're doing a great job of keeping guys fresh. So I wouldn't.
Do you expect to see Ajayi on the field?
I do.
Yeah, likewise. I would have a hard time playing Clement. Like last week, Mike and I both started Mike Gillislee because we thought that the volume would be there and the touchdown opportunity. Exactly. And so unless I'm told J.J. is sitting, I don't think.
Yeah, if it comes out later, okay, Ajayi is inactive, it's LeGarrette Blount and Corey Clement, then Corey Clement does become interesting as he's been heavily utilized in the red zone.
So players that could potentially rest at some point during this game, though, Foles, Jeffrey, Ajayi,
Ertz.
Ertz is the big one.
Yeah.
Ertz has been banged up recently.
They should rest Ertz, and in which case start your Trey Burton.
Yeah, you would start Burton. Let's go through a scenario. Ertz is active. You don't know if he's going to play a ton or a little.
No, I'm not starting Burton if Ertz is active. But if Ertz is sat for this game, which I think by the time the game comes around, I would if I was the Eagle, I would sit him.
Okay. Jason, so if the Eagles choose to sat him, then
right?
I choose to sat him.
Nicely done, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. The Jags are
They're not Jags anymore. Am I
the number
right?
3 seed, just like I've always said how good they are with the Gus bus. Oh wait, Jags coach Doug Marrone has indicated he has no plans to rest starters. The fact that the Jags lost last week actually has helped fantasy owners for this week in the sense that they want momentum going into the playoffs. That's been the narrative, right? We can only trust these narratives and the coaches and what they say so far. He says he has no plans to rest starters. I would not be surprised to see limited work for somebody like Leonard Fournette.
Agreed.
With nothing on the line, as well as, the wide receivers, they'll probably be out there. The Keelan Cole, he'll probably be out there. D.D. Westbrook,
maybe. Keelan
probably
Cole's
be out
the one
there.
who's been banged up.
So with the ankles. Yeah,
so
you're right.
Keelan Cole missing the entire game would not shock me at all.
So that's what we know about the Jags. Now, I will press the pause button real quick and just thank today's sponsor, FantasyChamps.com. I figure let's let people know what we do for our leagues when it comes to championship hardware.
Sure.
Now, in our league of record, what we do is we have this crystal trophy from FantasyChamps.com, and that is our traveling trophy. And every year we get a custom engraved plaque with the winner and the year and the team name, and we've got 10 years worth of that on this trophy. So that's the traveling trophy, and
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and they have those at Fantasy Champs, and you can get we have our code BALLERS. You can get 10% off. Then for the individual winner, we get a custom engraved display case with a ring inside of it. So a championship ring goes to every winner, and that's their permanent trophy. And those are really affordable at FantasyChamps.com. So we just went and outfitted our whole league. We went back in time, and we said every winner of the league gets a ring, and there's a couple designs on there, and you said pick a design. We'll order rings for everybody. We'll order display cases for everybody. And then we got all those, and we hand them out.
Yeah, and we also get the loser trophy for the loser, but
we also water the loser.
That's right, wheelofwater.com. When I win the championship, I also make sure I get that championship belt. You might or might not have seen previous videos in the past of me wearing those belts when we are at different award shows.
Yes, you are not a bashful man.
No.
But you can check them out. They have tons of trophies. They don't just have the big ones. They have individual trophies. They have rings. They have custom fantasy jerseys and losers trophies and a lot of good stuff. They are
really high quality.
They are our source for all fantasy football hardware. And this is kind of the time when you can outfit your league, your champion. The champions that walk among us need to be wearing that bling.
Champ's going to champ.
Champ's going to champ.
Champ's
so
gonna
that's
champ.
FantasyChamps.com. Use the promo code BALLERS to save 10% on your order. Can't speak highly enough of the people there. So let's talk about the Chiefs. They're the number 4 seed in the AFC. Do we have any indication of what the Chiefs are going to do with their starters this week? Brooks, have you heard anything from Santa Claus / Andy Reid?
Candy Reid.
I've been texting him, calling him. I got nothing from Andy back.
So we know nothing. Whether Alex Smith, Tyreek
That's so
Hill.
rude. Why won't Andy text you back?
I don't know.
So we'll keep you updated on the Chiefs going on later into the week. At this point, we don't have any indication that they're sitting people, but they don't have anything to gain, really.
Well, I mean,
They've clinched the division.
They did a lot of resting Kareem Hunt in the middle of the season.
Preemptive strike.
So hopefully, if you need him this week, he'll be good to go. But I would expect limited reps at least for Kareem Hunt. Because they have finally figured out, maybe we need to get Kareem Hunt the ball to help us win.
Yeah, I mean, you might get a half out of some of these players.
Sure.
It's definitely going to be difficult to trust Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt and Alex
Kelsey.
Smith and Travis Kelce going into this week. But this is fine.
Yeah.
Week 17, this is totally okay. This is cool.
I wonder if they will try and get Pat Mahomes at least a half.
That'd be interesting.
Because
might be smart.
You want to get your backup quarterback, at least get him some reps. You're heading into the playoffs. You don't want a situation where you are the Oakland Raiders of last year.
Right.
Who did they start? Man.
It wasn't
McGloin.
Was it McGloin?
Yeah.
McGloin. So you don't want a McGloin situation. That's
First career start coming in the playoffs.
Never mess around with McGloin.
No.
But they also have the situation of next year. Are they going to want to move on? Maybe they want to get Pat Mahomes just a little bit of experience before his sophomore year. I don't know. Just musing over here of possibilities.
The Rams. What do we know about the Rams situation? They have no chance at the first round bye. Sean McVay talked about it.
Sean McVay has already insinuated he will be resting his starters. I am expecting Todd Gurley to completely be inactive for this game. And Robert Woods, he's back from his injury, but why not? Why not rest Robert Woods?
Is Malcolm Brown going to win people fantasy football championships in Week 17?
Doubt it. I mean, he might be played. You might need to start him.
Volume is king.
And he might do enough because your opponent probably is
starting Brandon Oliver.
Yeah, just like everybody wants.
No, that's what you want. But look, Malcolm Brown should be a waiver pickup if
Absolutely.
that's the situation.
Yeah. If you're a Todd Gurley owner, you got to pick him up. If you're not a Todd Gurley owner, you probably still need to pick him up.
Yeah. Cowboys. The starters are expected to play limited snaps in Week 17, so they're eliminated. And apparently, the indication is they're also going to be limited.
This is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's.
I think that's the thing too. People don't think the teams that are eliminated, you have to factor in them too. That they might not.
Right. It's not just those who.
Can I get
clinched.
a verdict on Week 17 title games, Brooks?
It's garbage.
Oh,
yeah. I remember last year. Today is our rankings day, right? We're gonna really dive deep, try to get into all these matchups, rank all these players. But the rankings are really difficult. Here's what I will not. Normally we get stuff right, we get stuff wrong. We try to be as accurate as humanly possible. I think we've done a very good job on that this year. All accuracy is out the window this week. You just can't predict how much a guy's going to play. You have no idea what these coaches are going to do. So pre-apologies for your Week 17 garbage.
The Lions have said that Jim Caldwell has given no consideration to resting his starters, so even though they're eliminated, they'll be out there. So this is what we're giving you. We're giving you what we know.
Yep.
Those are the main teams that have kind of had indications or statements. Now, we also want to give you some information pertaining to what teams have the most to play for and the most to gain and lose, right? There are teams eliminated, but there are teams still alive and fighting for playoff positioning. The teams that have clinched in the AFC are New England, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and Kansas City. The teams that are currently in the playoffs but need to win to hold on
winning in
Baltimore and Tennessee. And then you have Los Angeles, the Chargers, and Buffalo, who still have the opportunity to get in if things go their way. Now, Baltimore, like you said, winning in. Tennessee, winning in. The Chargers, they need help. They need to win, and they need Tennessee to lose and Buffalo to lose. Buffalo needs to win and have Baltimore lose. So those are all teams that you expect to see their best efforts, right?
Right.
And so you can kind of bank on,
bank on the Bills, the Chargers, the Titans, the Baltimore Ravens.
McCoy's not going to get time off.
Right. Those players are given everything they got. Give it all you got.
Quick shout out to the NFL for fixing a problem, which was when you have the wide split of the morning games, the predominant amount of the games that are played in the morning. So these afternoon guys, they just sit around and wait for the morning to figure out their situation, and then all of a sudden you have, we've clinched without doing anything. They have remedied that situation where there are far more afternoon games than morning games this week. No Sunday night game because they want the competition to be as pure as possible.
That's great.
Without people scoreboard watching. So that's for all the crap people give the NFL. They did this. It's something.
They also fixed, they stopped being, poo-pooers of the celebrations in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped being poo-pooers of the charity cleats in the NFL and ruining, players' opportunity to kind of express themselves in that way. They're making some strides.
They're not perfect, but
people tend to like the NFL as a
do.
sport. On the NFC side of things,
less exciting.
Philadelphia has clinched the #1 seed, and they're locked in. And then Minnesota, Los Angeles, New Orleans, and Carolina, they've all clinched playoff spots. There's some seeding that can change. And then Atlanta is the team that is currently in but could still be eliminated. Seattle is the team that is out that could still be in. Essentially, we've broken down kind of what's going on with Philadelphia. Now, the Vikings, They clinch a first-round bye if they win. So they're still playing for that first-round bye. They've got something to play for. The Saints, they can clinch the division, so they've still got something to play for. If New Orleans wins, they clinch the division. If Carolina loses, they clinch the division. Carolina can clinch the NFC South with a win. They can actually get the first-round bye if New Orleans and Minnesota and the Rams lose and Carolina wins.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that the Bears are going to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, so
now
not happening.
Atlanta, now they they just have to win and they're in, but they got to play Carolina. So that'll be a tough game, but they are at home. And then Seattle needs to win and have Atlanta lose. So Seattle's got it all on the line. Now they're in a divisional game against Arizona. I'm expecting a dogfight in that game. Bruce Arians, Arizona. By the way, last week we had a shutout from Minnesota and Arizona. Arizona shut out the Giants. Both of those teams were like the longest droughts for shutouts. It's 25 years for the Cardinals to have a shutout. So they both snapped that streak, but the defense is playing well in Arizona. I'd expect a dogfight in that Seattle game, but obviously Seattle's got a lot to play for. I would expect Arizona's players to be playing full snaps and full allotments in that game.
Certainly.
They would like nothing more than to go to Seattle and knock them out of the playoffs. And as a Cardinal fan, I would like nothing more than them to go to Seattle and knock them out of the playoffs.
This could be the Bruce Arians swan song as well.
It really could. Yeah, there was talk today about Todd Bowles as the potential head coach in Arizona. There's interest if Bruce Arians walks away. And the last thing we heard about Bruce Arians was it's going to be in his hands. It's not the Cardinals don't want to lose Bruce Arians. Right. It's going to be Bruce Arians and up to him if he leaves. So that's kind of the lay of the land on teams and what they're playing for.
Hope you got all that.
Do you have anything you want to add, gentlemen?
No. That was excellent breakdown.
Yeah. So we'll see. It is important to see trends over the last 3 or 4 weeks of the year because and we'll break those down in the truth episodes, but sometimes you can get really surprised. And a player like Jakeem Grant in Miami can have 3 or 4 weeks at the end of the year and surprise you, maybe put him on the dynasty radar, put him on the redraft radar for next year. You know, if some wide receivers leave Miami, all of a sudden you pay attention to him. Those type of things can happen, and maybe you're tuned out because your league is over. But that's something you can watch for, and we'll try to keep you apprised of that. Anything else to add before we get into the mailbag?
Nope.
Okay, let's do that then.
Mailbag.
Okay. We needed a kind of a Christmas mailbag at some point.
Mailbag!
All right. If you have a question, go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. There's a submit a question button. You can also dial the voicemail hotline. That's always fun. Do your best to leave us a voicemail question on the first take. 302-464-TFFB is the number. And we're actually going to start off today's mailbag with a voicemail question.
Hey, guys. It's B-Jam up here in the blistery minus 13 degrees St. Paul, Minnesota.
Wow.
I have a quick question for you guys regarding Kenneth Dixon. In keeper leagues, is he worth a shot, or do you think Alex Collins has gotten that job? I know Kenneth Dixon never really won the job in the first place, so what do you guys foresee happening there next year? Thanks, guys. Love it. Bye.
It's a good question. I can tell you my intuition says Alex Collins has not won that job in any way, shape, or form.
I would agree with that. However, with regards to the actual question of does that mean Kenneth Dixon is a worthwhile shot, I would say absolutely not. I would not put any eggs on the Kenneth Dixon basket.
Really?
Not in a keeper league. Now, in Dynasty, sure, when you're keeping 25 guys, but if you've got to, get 3 or 4 or 5 guys, there you will have better options for sure on your roster, I believe, than Kenneth Dixon. Because if Kenneth Dixon comes back and is the starter, he's going to be the starter in an extremely muddled backfield. I mean,
I think he'll have an opportunity. Like I don't think his question is necessarily would you give keeper consideration to Dixon. His question is how do you see next year playing out with that backfield? 4th-round rookie, hasn't had the opportunity, ruined some of his opportunity. But I don't see any reason why they wouldn't give him the opportunity.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But I would say it's 50-50.
How do you stand, Mike?
I'm completely with Jason. A keeper league, because when you say keeper, you're insinuating, it's maybe I'm keeping 3 guys, maybe 4 guys. Kenneth Dixon's not anywhere close to that.
But how do you see the backfield playing out for next year?
So Buck Allen is under contract for next season. Kenneth Dixon, I mean, multiple injuries. He had I believe his 6-game suspension is served while he was on IR. That's what I'm reading. So he should be eligible to come back. He is very good, and he's only 23 years old, or he'll be turning 24 in January. So I still think that there is possibility for Kenneth Dixon. You definitely do not drop him in your dynasty squad.
All right, this question comes in from Atlee in Atlanta. It's a good name for someone who lives in Atlanta. Our championship round ended this week tied 134 to 134.
Cool.
Our regular season tiebreaker is most bench points, which I had lost, so I assumed I lost the championship. The next day, I had been awarded the championship because the playoff tiebreaker is based on seeding. I was the number 1 seed, and he was the number 3 seed.
Congratulations.
I had also beat him in the head-to-head regular season matchup. When my league commish saw this, he was unaware of the tiebreaker changing for the playoffs, and he changed the outcome and the league championship.
Ooh.
It is not my fault he wasn't aware of the rule change from the regular to playoff season, but changed it on the last day of the season to change who became champion in our league. Shouldn't this be implemented next season?
Yes.
Yes. Now, he says he changed it on the last day of the season. I assume you're not talking regular season. If he did it, then
No, they're saying that the last day this was after the championship was already decided.
That's garbage.
Yeah,
Is it?
I believe so.
So you think he deserves it based on the defaults of the league settings?
Yes, based off of other questions we've had similar to this, where people are into week 9, and you go, oh, well, all of a sudden we've noticed one of the digital rules was a little bit different than we thought it was. You can't go back and change it because it affects so much.
What do you think about the fact that he assumed he had lost based on the rules of the league, though?
Yes, no, I understand that, but it's
because on the other side, you assume you win based on the rules of the league that were established. Like, I'm curious, would the judge be willing to rule here?
He's the champ. You can't change the rules after the season's over.
So
essentially,
what the league auto awarded is what it should be. Is that what you guys all say?
And if they want to change it, which makes sense because they go, oh, that's what we all thought it was this, then you need to change it for the following season. While you change that, do yourself a huge favor.
Yes.
And stop with this whole point scoring nonsense. You should be using fractional scoring.
It is possible that they are using fractional
it
scoring
is
and still tied at 134.
Yes, it is possible, but I doubt it.
Well, and
they're both at whole
I will say
numbers.
this, too. Like tomorrow, Thursday is normally when the NFL does the full scoring audit, and you get the stat corrections.
Right.
And so it is possible that this gets clarity with a stat correction tomorrow.
Now, I feel like we need to, because we didn't mention it this year, but there has to be a better way to do the tiebreaker than bench points, because one of the strategies when you're going into the championship week, your lineup is sent, you dump your bench, you put every single remaining quarterback on your bench just to
that's not really an ideal.
Well, I think that's why
it's a silly strategy to have to do.
So what?
That's why this rule for this league. That's why you have a different playoff tiebreaker, is to avoid that situation.
Sure. That makes sense.
So I don't mind having the.
I think the top seed should get the win.
Yeah, I mean
I like that.
I don't mind that rule at all.
You get rewarded for being better during the year, and then that seems fair to me. I mean, decimal scoring should eliminate 99.9% of that scenario happening. But if it happens, best seed, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on board.
Next question.
This question comes in off of Twitter from at Dynasty Butcher.
Oh.
Sounds violent.
Yeah.
It's a simple question. He said, so now what?
Dynasty Butcher, I laid it out at the beginning of the episode.
You did.
If you need to rewind, feel free. You can do that on a podcast.
I will sprinkle this on top of what you said earlier. Now what is have fun. Like, listen to the show. We're going to have a blast. That things get a little bit
Why don't we
loose.
outline our schedule? We haven't done that.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. Andy, Dad, take it away.
Well, starting in January, we moved to 2 shows a week. We'll have a show releasing on Tuesday morning and Thursday morning.
We still have our Footcast.
Yes,
over
if
at
you want
Join
an
the
extra
Foot.
episode, you can go to jointhefoot.com.
3 a week.
And you'll get 3 a week that way. And we'll carry that 2-a-week schedule through June. And then in July, we move to 3 a week. And then in August, we go back to 5 a week from August through December.
Yeah.
So that is our fantasy footballer schedule.
And you definitely need to keep listening, pay attention, because there might be other opportunities, other shows coming this offseason that we'll be telling you about while we record. So make sure you keep listening this offseason.
All right, this question comes in from Ryan in Columbia, South Carolina. I have played fantasy football 4 years and have made the championship game every year, but lost every time.
Oh, Buffalo style.
I am in the championship this year for the 4th time in a row, and I would really like some motivation heading into Week 17, down by 17.
Oh, no.
He wants us to please pray to the fantasy gods and push his team to a championship. You know, you are the captain of your ship, my friend. He's in a PPR league. He's down by 17, so he's in a league where they do a 2-week championship. So you play Week 16 and Week 17.
Really quick, I think that's the ESPN default too. When you start a new league, Week 17 is part of it. I've heard.
What?
Don't quote me, but yeah, that's a problem in
Don't
itself.
at me, he says.
Well, last year ESPN managed to fix the issue where a defense was hurt by the opposing defense scoring. So maybe this year they can take care of that if that's an issue.
Well, Ryan in Columbia, good luck.
Yeah, good luck with Malcolm Brown
Drink
and
some
Brandon Oliver.
coffee down there. Also, bonjour.
Oh, yes.
Wait,
Missed
in
that.
South Carolina?
Oh, I thought you said Columbia.
Yes.
That's
Columbia
the city name in South Carolina.
Well, bonjour from Columbia. I'll bet they have good coffee there as well.
Is that why you said that?
That sounds so confused by the coffee line.
Yeah.
Oh. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not South Carolina. Is it Saskatchewan?
Yeah. Columbia,
I mean, he just put SC.
I am a geography major.
Let's find out. This is very, very important. No, it's South Carolina.
Oh, bonjour.
I was Stop it. All right, James Shoemaker says, do I finally sell Julio Jones in my dynasty leagues?
Ooh, that's an excellent question.
That is a good question.
He is the age is he's still fine with quite a few years left of
28
of high production. He'll be 29.
Sure.
For next
but
season.
He's a year younger than Antonio Brown.
Right.
Or they're about the same age.
Yeah, but Julio Jones is banged up every single year. Meanwhile, Antonio Brown, generally speaking, has been an Iron Man.
Yes.
If you can,
one of those two guys is injured right now.
That's why I said generally speaking.
Probably two.
Now I would say two of them are injured right now. It's always about the haul. What can you get?
Yes.
For Julio Jones, because he will still be in my top 5 going into next year. But that's the thing about selling high and buying low. It's difficult to stomach. That you're like the selling high. Why would I sell high? He's going to be great. But if you can get multiple long-term great assets, I would listen to offers.
It's a very interesting. It makes me excited already to talk about dynasty leagues and keeper leagues and off-season strategy. Like, I'm just pumped for that. You need to be careful with those dynasty moves because you can move too early on players. I mean, I just won a championship, 14-1 season with DeMarco Murray on my team, Marshawn Lynch for the majority of the season, some elder statesmen, you would say, right?
Adrian Peterson.
Pierre Garçon and Adrian Peterson. And Mike Clay from ESPN, he posted a poll this past weekend about, Michael Clark, who played for the Packers
I saw
this past weekend. And he asked, he's a wide receiver. They got some reps, 6'6" on the Packers, just a few reps. He said he posted a poll and said, "Who do you want in Dynasty, Michael Clark or Jordy Nelson?" And Michael Clark, I think, won the poll.
No.
And so this is why I'll bring it up because it's worth consideration there, where you're always in that. It's almost like a stock.
It's the penny
It's
stocks.
just like a stock where you're saying, when do I buy? When do I sell? When do I let this go? And you can make a mistake. Sometimes you just got to hodl.
Oh,
yes.
Sometimes you just got to hold that player. And Jordy Nelson, look, it could be over for Jordy, but it probably isn't you're probably going to get one more year out of Jordy Nelson with Aaron Rodgers, and you're probably going to sell him for too low if you sell him at the price he is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would be trying to buy a Jordy on the extreme cheap. If I can sell a bench asset,
Michael
maybe
Clark.
Sell Michael Clark from the waiver wire?
Yes.
Well, and I also saw people pay big prices for Aaron Jones earlier in the year in a Dynasty League because everybody wants that Dynasty potential, multi-year superstar. So Julio, look, if you can go get a haul that you're proud of, that's Dynasty. You just trade. Just trade and have fun and enjoy it. But if you're going to trade him for pennies on the dollar, I don't think now's the time to do it. Fair?
Agreed.
All right, Charles Kaiser says, I'd love to hear you guys talk about why kickers are stupid. Mostly just so I can send the clip to my league and help them convince them of the truth. I thought he was a sympathizer there for a second, but he wants to know why kickers are stupid. I am much more middle of the road with kickers, so I'm going to get out of the way, but I just want to say I think having kickers is fine. I think you just don't want to have a variance or an emphasis on their points where they amount for too much of a percentage of your week-to-week performance.
Yeah, I would say this. I'm actually more a fan of nerfing kickers than getting rid of kickers, but if people aren't willing to nerf kickers and make them much less important, then
you'll kick them.
Then get rid of them. I'd rather have a flex. Here's my argument for it. Now, you can go down the argument of they're hard to predict or whatever, but that's not actually why I hate kickers. The reason I hate kickers is because in the draft season, you do all this prep. You talk with your buddies. You listen to podcasts. You grab the magazine or the Ultimate Draft Kit. You have so much fun preparing and planning and thinking about all these players. And you never once think about kickers, talk about kickers, about kickers.
It's a fair point.
And then all of a sudden, they're scoring as much as tight ends. They're impacting your league. And it's like, wait, this isn't where the fun is. This isn't where we're strategizing on targets and volume and all this stuff. They're just this ancillary throw-in piece that now is affecting your wins and losses, and you don't care about them.
That is a very concise and well-made argument.
I did it.
By week 17, you did it. That's a great argument, and on the basis of that, you could put another flex position in your league if you wanted.
Right. I mean, that's where an extra flex where you're going deeper. Those are great.
Now, if you want to flex a kicker in there, yes, fine.
That's a
kicker
great
eligible
idea.
flex.
Yes,
I love it.
Oh my god! And then you'd have to really think about kickers.
Yes,
then that would be fun.
That'd be crazy.
You want
All right.
Keelan Cole or Gostkowski?
Now, Juan the Mailman Beltran in Del Rio, Texas, has a question for you, Jason.
Okay, just for me.
Yeah, he says, why does Jason always hate the quarterbacks that run? Why does he hate that they get the most points?
This is
now,
good.
Hold
this
on,
is rant time.
Hold on. He wants to explain. He says, why do you hate that quarterbacks that run get the most points? Throwing takes skill, I agree, but running risks potential injury. So shouldn't the risks offset the award? Brady rarely gets hurt because he stands in the pocket, but Tyrod and Mariota have missed games due to injury. Reward the risk takers, and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Love the show. What do you think?
Yeah, a Stone Cold said so reference?
Nice.
Couldn't resist.
Every single player on every single snap on both sides of the ball is putting themselves at risk every play. Tell Aaron Rodgers that, he's not putting himself at risk dropping back in the pocket.
Carson Palmer.
Yeah, I mean, I
tell Deshaun Watson not to practice.
Here's the trouble, though.
That's practice.
Let me put it this way, because I want to know what your solution would be, because I don't see it as a problem at all.
Oh, it's a massive problem.
I know you both do, and that's why I'm going to be the counterbalance here. But let's put a player like Cam Newton in a position where he's going to run a read option play. You're wanting me to, if he hands the ball to Jonathan Stewart, Stewart gets a point per 10 yards. If he decides to pull it in and run, you want him to get, what, a point per 25 as a quarterback?
Yes.
I think that's ridiculous to change. I think that is a more ridiculous argument to say because he's a quarterback that pulls the ball in and takes it around the edge, he's going to get less points than if he handed it to Jonathan Stewart, and Jonathan Stewart ran it up the middle.
The vast majority of leagues nerf quarterbacks, and the reason why is because quarterbacks have far more opportunities.
Touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. They nerf passing touchdowns.
And they don't necessarily nerf them. They just score them as 4 points.
my
Yeah,
point.
but there's 4 instead of 6.
Right.
Okay, you're right.
So, but I mean, if you're into that argument, then all touchdowns should be equal.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could make that argument.
So
But at least that's – okay, go ahead.
The rationale here for why you nerf quarterbacks is because of opportunity. They get the ball every single play. They get to decide what happens every single play. That's why passing yards aren't a point per 10 yards. They're racking them up. My issue is the quarterback position, sure, should be nerfed. I think that if a Julio Jones throws a touchdown, for instance, if you're in a 4-point per passing league, it should really be more about the position, the quarterback, than Julio doesn't get the opportunity to throw a touchdown that often. That should be 6 points.
Oh, come on.
When you run for 20 yards and, it's for a quarterback, that's the same as throwing a 50-yard pass. It makes no sense. They're doing the exact same thing.
The problem with the logic that you're bringing up, Mike, about you should be wanting quarterbacks to have 6-point passing touchdowns under that logic, is you affect different quarterbacks with a rule change there. You don't give any priority to a running quarterback, and that's what his argument is that if a quarterback has a dual skill set and has the ability to run, therefore they should be valued in a different way in fantasy than a quarterback that stands in the pocket. If you change and nerf their running ability as a quarterback, you are not necessarily nerfing quarterbacks. You are nerfing specific quarterbacks, and you're trying to put a running quarterback on the same threshold as a passing quarterback. That's your objective.
To make all quarterbacks the same. Because they play whether you're a running quarterback or a passing quarterback, you play the same position.
You do play the same position, but if you are a running quarterback, then you're not in a position where you're running as often as the running back is, and maybe you don't throw the. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's a really good example, right? Mm-hmm. Tyrod Taylor does not throw for more than 200 yards most weeks,
right?
And so if you nerf his running ability, he's an irrelevant quarterback.
Yeah.
So do you want to make Tyrod Taylor an irrelevant quarterback? Because he's not an irrelevant quarterback in the NFL. His running ability changes him to be start-worthy. If he just had 200 yards passing a game, and that's all that GMs looked at for Tyrod Taylor, he wouldn't be started in any team in the NFL. But he started because he runs the ball.
Tyrod Taylor is usually, when he plays in fantasy, and he is a top 10 type of option. So if you're telling me that Tyrod Taylor in the NFL is a top 10 real life quarterback, I would call shenanigans on that. This year it's a little different because he's been pulled a couple times, been injured a couple times, so he's not in the top 10. But usually Tyrod is there, and that's my argument. You're kind of making it for me. Is he's nowhere near as good in real life. No one, if you were to redraft the quarterbacks in the NFL, no GM would take Tyrod Taylor where you would take him in fantasy. That's weird to me.
And that's fair. I think that the real truth is that you're losing a little bit on both sides of the argument. If you take Tyrod Taylor and you give him
– it's not like he gets no points for rushing.
No,
he just gets the yards.
Yeah, you give him a point. You're saying give him a point per 25 rushing.
Yes.
I think I lean more on the side of leaving it how it is and having rushing yardage count the same than I would try to go over complex, and then I feel like you bend it. You're going to be wrong either way is how I feel. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. So why try to mess with it? That's kind of how I say it.
I feel like that makes fantasy football more fun. Like, I don't care that it's not necessarily the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL aren't the top 10 in fantasy.
Right.
It's fantasy football.
Yeah, that's how I sit.
Yeah.
That's how I sit. But, I mean, you guys have made the jokes in the comments all year long about, Cam Newton takes off for a 40-yard run, and you're like, wow, that's,
He just threw 150 yards.
Yeah, you made those comments before and how you view that as ridiculous. I guess I stand more in the, I'm cool with it. I'm fine with where it's at.
Hey,
Did you have anything you want to add? You can have last word on that.
No, I enjoy it as it is now. I love fantasy football. I like playing the game and exploiting the system. So I agree with Brooks on that. I like exploiting that stupid rule. It's fun. So I'm fine having fun with it, but I just think it's a dumb rule.
On that note, we'll say goodbye. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, listening to the podcast, and check out draft.com/ballers to play DFS with us. Goodbye.
Love Michael.
I love Michael B.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.